I'm really excited for today's show. We're going to be talking about podcasting. In other words, how can you be podcasting? But more importantly, how do you build your authentic brand? And we're going to be doing that with Matt Haze. Hi, I'm Chris Reynolds, and I'm on a mission to help independent financial advisors build a better business through a remarkable client experience. In this podcast, you're going to learn how to do that from my conversations with the visionaries, the leaders, the independent advisors who are reshaping the future of the financial advice industry. At the end of each episode, you're going to walk away with an actionable idea that you can take and use right now, and it will help you to build a better business today. This is Turning the Page. Did you know that nearly 12 million Canadian adults, or 36% of the over 18 population, listen to podcasts at least once a month? I know I'm a regular junkie of podcasts, certainly every time I'm driving. They're having a moment right now. Podcasts are a thing, and there's so many out there. And really, at the end of the day, anyone can create one. So one of the things I've often wondered is, how do you create something that really works? What brings in new business? And what can stand out from the crowd of this very, very busy state? One thing I've learned in doing this show after the few years is the importance of authenticity. If you really want your content to work, not in just podcasts, by the way, all social media, you got to be real. Right? You got to be yourself. And you got to give people a taste of who you are. And that's how to stand out from everybody and what everyone else is doing. And a lot of them are saying the same sort of thing. So you want to be different. So I thought this would be a great topic. I've had lots of advisors come up to me and said, I'd love to do a podcast, or it looks hard, or I'm not sure whether this is something for me. And I thought, well, this is a great time. Let's talk to somebody who actually knows what the podcast space. And it's actually my own producer, Matt Haze. He's been making this happen to me. I don't know I think we're on episode 80 or something. So we've worked together for many years now. And he's really the expert. And he's also worked with some other advisors and helped them put their shows together. And I thought this would be just a great topic that people are very interested in. So to figure out who Matt is, he's the founder of Haze Creative. It's a little boutique media production company that we found. And so his job is to create media brands designed to make an audience laugh and think, while building a whole community within that audience. And the last 25 years, Matt's done it all. He's done it all in media. He's done it in entertainment. He's been on radio. He's done TV. He's done comedy. He's done live events all over the world. Now what Haze Creative does is works with organization and tries to really help them create authentic and cleverly crafted content. And what he's trying to do is help you resonate with not only potential, but current clients. And he's helping advisors really build out their personality within their shows. Building a community online is really what social media is all about. And you shouldn't do it yourself. You've heard me say 1,000 times, if you don't know how to do something, outsource it to people who do. And Matt knows how to do it. And his company is set up for everything, including this podcast. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Chris, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. It's nice to be on the other side, even though every once in a while I get to sneak in and help out with stuff. But it's nice to be on the other side of the microphone for once.
It's great to have you. And again, it was how this topic came up is Matt were just chatting, and he was helping out a couple of other advisors on their shows. And I'm like, this is something that I get like almost on a regular basis. We like your podcast. We like other podcasts. I'd like to do it myself, but I'm a little intimidated. I don't know whether this is something for me. And I thought, let's just have a talk about it and let's get it out there. So when we start, how I always start, Matt, why don't you tell us your story? How did you get here?
Well, Chris, as a fellow 29-year-old like you, I've been doing this for 20-something years and started at the age of 4. So
exactly.
I have been in the industry for a little over 25 years now. I started when I was in high school, as like many people in my group, started as a wacky DJ doing events. And I actually started in radio when I was 16. A friend of mine, Basil, volunteering at a local college radio station in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm originally from, and would hang out during the summer. And during the summer, all the college kids were gone. They were back home, and they said, hey, do you want to do a shift? I'm like, sure, why not? So I got to start very early on that way, and then started professionally in Cleveland after 18, right out of high school, and Worked in radio, bounced around the country for a while in Cleveland, was living in LA for a bit, lived in New York for 10 years, was part of a nationally
Oh, wow.
syndicated show out of Z100 in New York, and kind of bounced around the radio world for a bit. Then decided, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from this because there was part of me that loved the entertainment world, but also hated the business side of it because I was always
It's like everything.
exactly, yeah. Because my father was part owner of his business. I always kind of had an entrepreneurial mindset. I created my own lawn cutting service. When I was in fifth grade, my principal at school said, there's this entrepreneur class for students to teach you how to create like a lawn mowing cutting business and all. You should do that. And started me really early on this idea of just kind of building and creating my own thing. And I was really doing that in high school when I was DJing and all as it is.
Cool.
So I couldn't really find a way in the entertainment world to also play entrepreneur. So I did something completely different and sold real estate for a year and a half.
What? See,
Which,
all these years I've known you, I never knew that. See, you
yeah,
do something new every day.
my father was a real estate nerd. I always kind of have been and still are a bit. So I got my license. I always joke that I say I was a horrible real estate agent, not because my transactions were bad. All my clients, everything went great. But, part of business is picking up the phone, calling the book of leads and saying, hey, do you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell a home in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Oh, you don't? Okay, great. Does your neighbor, does someone, a coworker? I was awful at that because I genuinely wasn't passionate about that. So I kind of took a step away. And at that time, there was a gentleman by the name of Dave Jenks, who was one of the head executives at Keller Williams Realty, where I had my license. And he's co-author of the best-selling real estate book of all time, actually. He was leaving KW, and our paths just crossed. And he used to do a lot of internal podcasts at Keller Williams. And this is back in 2008, 2009, when it really wasn't a thing, but there was a lot of internal training stuff and all that was sent out to agents. And he said, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next because I was making the move to New York. And he said, how about you help me produce a podcast? And that's how I kind of got started in all of this. Because I knew the scripts and dialogues from real estate. He already did podcasts before, and this was before we had Zoom and Riverside and all. We recorded on Skype, and I had to use
The good old days, yeah.
yeah, very, very different. We were doing this. People think this is all new, and I was like, we've been doing this 10-something years now. It's just much better. So from that transitioned into working on the business side, and since then have been running a little boutique agency that was based in New York for a while. I lived in Puerto Rico for 6 years, now based in Chicago, and we're fully virtual. I travels, just as much as you do, and we're always working on the road and working with brands and working with corporations to help them with their podcasts and their messaging. But also with that, I also still dab in comedy and still do stuff on the entertainment side. So we try to mix a lot of that knowledge and information in as well, because it's so easy to be able to take a microphone and just say your stuff and know your scripts and dialogues, but creating a message that actually resonates, creating a message that connects with an audience is a very different thing. And that's where a lot of the entertainment skills can go hand in hand with the business side.
No. And certainly I can attest to all of this since we've worked together for so long and worked on this show and a lot of other interactions that we have that just help out with business. And the commonality, of course, Matt was in radio. I used to do radio. You can tell our radio voices going on here that we can now use in the podcast forum and really get our whole message out. It's been great. And this is what I thought this show would be great because, as I said, I get advisors all the time saying, I'm trying to build my brand. I'm trying to build my business. I'm trying to, build credibility within my niche market. How do I do that? And, podcast, of course, is one medium, but maybe you can talk about that. Like, how do you start? You got to start with the brand, right? You got to have an authentic brand. So tell me what people do right and what did they do wrong?
When it comes to brand building, I think people try to take the easy route a little bit. They think, you know what, when I sit down and I share my knowledge with people, I can just take that and put it online and people are going to consume it, which in a way is true. But at the same time, when you're also competing against entertainment brands, where you're competing against other information brands, just taking your scripts and dialogues and putting it out there is not going to be exciting. It's as if when, if you go to a doctor and they give you a pamphlet of paper when you're done with your meeting and they're like, read all this about these drugs I gave you or this thing you're going through. What do you do with that that pile of paper? Unless you're a hypochondriac, you're putting it to the side. You're like, yeah, whatever. Maybe I'll do a quick little Google search and read something else that way. But you're not reading the actual information. And I think when it comes to brand building, when it comes to, especially in the financial space where 80% of this is about, I just like the person that I'm working with.
Right.
So many advisors have the same tools, the same knowledge, same information, but it comes down to, do I like the person? And I think we have to remember that, yes, you're sharing knowledge and information, but half of the battle is, I want to show people who I am and build a rapport up with them. The goal for so much of this content really should be using the content to go from making it a cold to a warm lead. They should be watching your content, listening to your content, consuming all this, getting to know who you are as a person. So that way, when they get on the phone with you, when they're sitting in front of you for that first meeting, they feel as if they already know you. It makes it so much different. It makes it so much easier for you then as an advisor to start that conversation and to start digging into building up that rapport because they already kind of like you. They kind of already know a little bit about you that way. So when it comes to content, and especially with podcasts, I think advisors think, I just have to take the scripts and dialogues that I already know I have and just put it out there and people will consume it. Well, if it's not entertaining or showing your personality, or you're not able to take that time to build up a rapport with them as if you're sitting down at a one-on-one meeting and you're taking those first few minutes to kind of get to know them, if you're not doing that with your content as well, it's going to fail.
Absolutely. And I think, there's a few things that we can unpack in what you've said. And one of the things that I've certainly had in my not only years in business, but because of the podcast, when I meet people that I've never met before, and I've met them because they've listened to the podcast, to your point, it's like they already know me. They're like, oh, you know what? I really like this one. And I like when you did this. And I love the Arnold Schwarzenegger one. And I thought that was funny. And so they're picking up on your personality, and it's like you already know you. So to your point, it's not somebody who's cold anymore. It's warm. And they've chosen to at least have a conversation with you about doing business because they like you, because you seem to be their kind of person, and that personality is coming out. Whereas, you and I both heard the boring ones, right? Where it's like literally listening to paint dry. It's this whole people just talking for the sake of talking about, facts and figures and things that might seem important to them, but hardly seem important at all to their audience.
Let's use a convention as an analogy. You go to a convention and you're sitting in the big room, the big room with the big stage, and the keynote speaker comes out and talks on stage and tells you everything and plugs their book, and it's great. It's nice. It's motivating. But where is the good stuff that you remember from a convention or an event? It's the conversations you're having with the person sitting next to you. It's in the hallway before you go into the room. Right. It's when you're waiting for your Starbucks cup at first thing in the morning, you end up chatting with the person behind you in line and you end up getting their information and realize you just made a good connection. It's the conversations you're having at the bar at the end of the night. When it comes to content, people think I need to do the keynote stuff. But the thing is that what you need to be doing is creating content that's like the conversations that people are having afterwards, because that's what actually connects. That's what actually matters. Sure, you can share your knowledge and all, but if you're doing it in I'm telling you and just throwing it at you instead of building a rapport, building a relationship and connecting on a one-on-one level, that makes all the difference. One other quick point on that too. Yeah. I don't know if they made you do this when you started in radio. When I started in radio years ago, they made us take a photo of somebody and put it in front of us. And our job was to always talk to one person on the microphone. Sure, there might be hundreds of thousands of people listening to my show at one time. But in that moment, it's just one person that's talking that you're talking to. It's one person that is listening to you. It's the person sitting in the car in traffic. And I still think that's important in podcasts and video as well. You might have a large audience, but in that moment, you're talking to one person. I would go for a run and I put in a podcast and I hear, hey guys, hey everybody, welcome to my show. And I'm like, right. Who's guys and everybody? It's just me. What are there?
That's an excellent point.
Oh my God. Are there people running behind me, chasing me? Where are who are these guys and people? It's a one-on-one intimate relationship. Instead of thinking I need to talk to my audience, it's right now in this moment, it's you, me, and you, the person that's listening or watching on the other side. It's just us in an intimate table having a conversation. They're getting to eavesdrop and listen in on our conversation. But when you make it intimate and personal that way, instead of just talking to an audience, that those little things make all the difference.
They do make all the difference. And I can actually illustrate with a story. When I started in radio, it was just me, and it was just me blabbing away. And it was a call-in show, and I would get my friends, and I get my mom to call in and ask questions just to get it moving. And it was okay. But then I got a co-host. And then it was myself and my co-host talking together, and all of a sudden it happened, right? So whatever needed to happen within radio happened. My listenership went up dramatically. The calls started pouring in. We couldn't keep up with them all. And it was all because listening to people have a conversation, or me having a conversation to you, the listener, is way more entertaining than listening to some person talk about whatever they believe that they're an expert at. And, even to this day, I still do solos. And some of them are good, but mostly it's the interaction like we're having right now that really resonates with people. Now, the other thing that I find is I think that a lot of business people, and I'm going to say specifically in the wealth management business, underestimate how much people research them utilizing social media, and the credibility that things like podcasts bring to your potential clients is almost unmeasurable. And you must see this. You must see this when consumers are looking for, a financial advisor or been referred to a financial advisor. The first thing they're going to do is Google them. And, if they see them in their authentic way and in their authentic self doing a podcast, they're going to choose them over others. I don't know if you've seen that, or how you can, comment on some of the successes that you've seen because of that.
Well, I can also use a prime example of my own life. My mother just recently switched financial advisors. She's been using someone for many, many years. They are now in retirement mode and are going through their succession plan, and their book of business was bought by another person. And I've been keeping an eye religiously on their content and learning about them and all. And I see what a lot of other advisors do, where there are a lot of great tools out there that you can use off the shelf. You can get your emails sent. You can do your quarterly email newsletters and market updates and all that. You can get this off the shelf, pay a monthly thing. They just put your name and photo on it. It all looks nice in the bottom corner of there, and then it gets sent out. But it looks like every other content that is out.
Right.
And I really noticed that in the last 100 or so days with all that is going on in the world right now.
Yeah. Yes. The excitement.
The excitement, and whatever we want to call this that is going on. My mom is at a point where she's semi-retired. So, she's starting to pull a little bit on the retirement fund. So I'm keeping an eye on things and watching things a lot more. So I'm watching the content from this advisor come out. And I'm seeing quarterly newsletters where they're talking about meditation and how you can stay calm in the world. And I swear to God, the last story was, here is a coffee shop in Massachusetts that does dancing videos on social media. Isn't it great? I'm like, my mom's portfolio is down 23%. I don't give a damn about who's dancing where for anything right now. I like to know what's going on and what you think about it. I think the biggest problem is advisors don't take the time to take a lot of these tools that are out there from social media that are available, or just whatever it is they're putting out there, and being real and being themselves. I get it that there are certain regulations and things that regulators say that you can and cannot say. You cannot make promises. You can't do that. But in that restraint, there is magic to be yourself, to show yourself, and not just your life, but share what you're thinking, share what you're talking about with your clients, and put that out there and show that you are a human being, that what type of conversation I'm going to have with you. So yes, it does make a difference when people are looking for this. They can see a lot of the same stereotypical stuff that is available anywhere. And so many of these advisors don't realize that maybe if they're taking the same exact tools that another advisor is using and just going to their same web pages, they're going to see the same exact stuff, and they're going to know you're not doing anything to make yourself stand out. The biggest mistake advisors are making right now is not being authentic and real and saying what they're actually thinking. Everyone's trying to play it safe. Nobody actually wants to open their mouth and say what they're actually thinking, what they think the world might be like, what's going on, and giving the consumers out there a sense of who you are, but also a sense of comfort because you're being honest and real about what you see in the world. That's what they want, whether they agree with you or not. No matter what, even when you sit in the office with them, you're going to have disagreements. That's just what it is. But take it out of the office and put it online. Let people see that. You're going to make yourself stand out so much just from being a real human being like that.
I really agree. And also, I'm going to agree on another point, which is you're not trying to make everybody happy. This is one of the other challenges that many of us have. When I ask, who is your target market? They're like, well, I like high net worth individuals. I like people who are retiring. I like their kids. So I'm like, so everybody is your client, right? Everyone is your client. And certainly there's nothing wrong with that. But certainly if I'm looking for an advisor, I want someone who knows me, knows my demographic, specializes in my needs, my wants, my problems, right? And so you don't have to make everybody happy. And this is what tends to also be the reason that people are so vanilla in their communications and vanilla in their how they put themselves out there, because they don't want to necessarily, not say offend, but they want to be all inclusive to every demographic that there is. And that's an incredibly difficult message to pull off, as opposed to saying, just use an example, I am a retirement income specialist. If you're about to retire and you need income from your investments, I'm your person. And now I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a show on all the topics that surround that.
Yeah.
And that way, if that audience is looking for that specific solution to their specific problem, you're going to mesh. You're going to be somebody that person would contact. Once again, if you're just hearing a whole bunch of generic stuff, that's probably not as good.
And in your example right there, with everything that is going on right now, those people that are at that point where they're just about to retire are freaking out a lot right now because you're seeing the numbers and they're looking at, they've spent their decades building up their portfolio. And now all of a sudden they're seeing this drop and there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. So in that example, this is when you get really honest of like, I understand what you're feeling right now. I see it. I get it. I have other clients that are going through it. It's a lot of madness. Let me share you some insight that I have from what I've seen from my clients. Let me share some opinions I think about all of that, whether you agree or disagree or not. It's going to come out when you sit down and meet with them in person anyway. So wouldn't you rather, weed that on out before they even walk in the door and save you your time, energy, effort, and money in that? Being real in that sense matters. Also, too, to that point where you're talking about niching on down, like there's some advisors within IPC that we've had on the podcast that are very focused on certain niches, whether it's small business owners, sustainable investing for those people that want to make sure that their money.
Great. That's a great example. Yeah.
That's a way where you can be honest about how you feel and what you think about the world while also having a niche and getting the right people within the door. You can really help narrow on down your business and your lead generation and saving you time, energy, effort, and money by really focusing on where you want to be and let your message be that way, but also be real about it too and not just take the scripts and dialogues, but be honest about why you're choosing this and why you're helping these people out.
Right. Having a mission. Like you want, that why that everyone talks about in business. You want as many people as resonates with your why as possible. And that really does start with your potential clients. Like not everybody has to be your client. You don't have to make everybody happy. You don't have to be an expert at everything. But for the people that you do, you should be everything to those people. And a podcast is a wonderful way to illustrate that level of expertise. It is a wonderful way to say, this is where I am in the marketplace. And if you have these problems, I am uniquely positioned to solve them for you. And as I said, I think podcasting is great because it's an interactive type of medium. It's not like, some of the other social medias, which are, there might be videos or there might be posts or they might be this or they might be that. This is actually illustrating that I'm going to say that credibility that you have within that certain marketplace. So what have you been doing to build your authentic brand? Have you been using social media? Have you been doing podcasts? What's working? But, let's also talk about what's not working. If you want to just talk about what's your future in this format, I would love to have a virtual coffee with you. Just go to the show notes, hit the link, and I'm looking forward to having a great chat. I've been doing this podcast for years, and I would love to share my wisdom with you. In other words, what to do, but more importantly, what not to do as you go forward.
As you mentioned that too, one word that stands out, which I try to work with in my own business world with the brands that I build, is community. We're wanting community. We want to be connected. We are lonelier more than ever. More than likely, the type of people that you interact into your business, your potential clients, are similar, and they all could probably, if you put them all in a room in a party, they probably will all get along. So not only are you helping them with their financial needs, you're helping them with their bigger plans, but you're also building a community of like-minded people that you can bring together and connect. And podcasting is a perfect example of that, because if you're being authentic and real in a voice, people feel seen, they feel heard, they feel connected to something. So if you can turn this into not just, hey, I'm helping you with your money, but you're a part of a bigger community of like-minded people that want to invest their money a certain way to be able to get a certain result or at a certain stage in life, you're also letting them seen, feel, and heard and connected in a different way too, which is just makes you stand out, and also just, gives you even more value as a business owner.
I think we really underplay that importance of community, especially in today's society. And I say that because, this is a world of almost isolation. We went through COVID, people, went, everyone went home, everyone stayed at home, everyone works at home. And to this day, and I was just reading a stat here in Canada is the highest percentage of people that work at home in the entire world.
Wow.
And so people aren't getting that same social interaction that they once had before COVID, where your social interaction was 8 hours at work. And these were where you met your friends and your buddies, and after work drinks, and, all of and many relationships and marriages started there too. So,
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So if you can bring a community type feel to your client base, that's one more benefit of working with you and your team.
To be fair, I've seen Toronto housing prices. If I'm paying that much for a home, I'm never leaving.
I was going to say, no one ever wants to leave their house.
Never going to leave my house. How much I'm paying for my mortgage every month? I'm not leaving this place.
It's very true. They're like, I'll stay in the shoebox for $900,000. I'm getting my money's worth. No, I think it's been great. So, do you have some examples of podcasts that get it right versus podcasts that get it wrong? Like, if you wanted to give the audience a visual of what they should be looking at and how they should get started, how would they go about that? What would it look like if they wanted to do it right?
Yeah. So I'm not going to really name off any advisors. I mean, I have some clients that I think are doing very well, that are in the stage of still building and all, that are doing a great job. I will say that I think when it comes to wanting to build something different that stands out, I think the key is looking at other industries and other places that are different than yours. I think there is magic in that mixing. Because if you look at so many other financial advisors, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff that is done over and over again, and you're going to look at their views and numbers and realize no one's really consuming it. So why do I want to copy that? But what I would do is take a look at the top podcasts in Canada, in the world, in the United States, wherever you're at, and see if there's anything that stands out to you. What do you like? What from that do you go, this seems interesting? It couldn't be something that's entertainment based. It could be something that is true crime based. But if you have an idea of what you like to consume, if you have an idea of what resonates with you, ask yourself, what from that can I take and integrate into my world? Yeah. There's a reason why entertainment shows and comedy shows do so well, because people want that community, they want that connection, that they're listening to it in podcast form. Okay, so if we know that, how can I mix that into a business side? How can I show my personality? How can I show who I really am on a show? I think those are the bigger questions to ask, besides just trying to copy what someone else is doing that way. So one of the biggest keys is also, if you don't listen to podcasts, don't start a podcast. You should be listening and kind of...
That's very good advice.
Here's surprise.
Let's start.
Over half of my clients I used to have, I did a clearing out of clients over the last 18 months, but a lot of them never listen to podcasts. Like, I don't know. Like, then why are you doing it? If you won't even listen to your own show, it doesn't make sense. I think you're not going to take a true crime podcast and make a financial advisory a podcast. Albeit if you do, that could be really brilliant and actually might be kind of funny, but you have to have that personality to do it. But I think there is magic in looking at, what else is out there. But then also I think a big key is to ask, what do you like as a human being besides just the business side? Are you a sports person? Are you an entertainment person? We're all business nerds and junkies as it is, so we like consuming that as it is. But there is a lot of magic and things you can learn from those things that you as a human being would talk about with potential clients or current clients in an office. And I think that's where you can find the magic of what you can create and how you kind of integrate that into your own show and create something that's unique and different to you.
Yeah, no, I like it. So one of the things I get, so I'm always, and I meet some great personalities who I think would do great on podcasting, and I think that it would help them tremendously. They always say the same thing. I don't have any time. It's too much of a time commitment. I couldn't possibly do this. I already know my answer. You have all the time in the world. It's about prioritization, but that's just mine. So, one of the big thing is, how much time does it take of my life that I'm going to do this? What's the financial commitment? And what's the advantage of outsourcing? Can't I just do this myself? Can't I just buy a microphone and off I go? And I personally have answers for all three of those things. But, from your, perspective, what would you say how would you answer those questions?
Well, yes, anybody can go out and buy a microphone and a camera and you can start your own show. Anybody can do that. And trust me, 90% of the stuff that is out there, you listen to it and you can tell. Anybody can buy a microphone, anybody can get a camera and put it out.
Right.
Not putting, I get it. You have to start somewhere and you have to start putting it out there. And I get that. But if you don't know how to, if you're going to invest your time, energy, effort, and money into something, and you don't know how to actually resonate with an audience, you're going to fail within 90 days. Because you're gonna burn out, because you're gonna think, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to make this work. The numbers aren't showing anything. And your job as a financial advisor is to meet one-on-one with people, help them with their financial goals and their life goals. Your job isn't to be sitting in an Adobe Audition, editing audio and trying to figure out how to use Premiere to edit video. That's not your job. And if you're spending your time doing that, you're more than likely your business is going to suffer because of that. So if you're
absolutely,
the key is to set a little bit of time every single week to do any of your content, all of your work. I really think you can make magic if you set 1 hour a week and just do a brain dump of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and then whatever you choose, social media wise or content wise, video, podcast wise, and then you take all that knowledge and then put it out there. But the key though is that within that hour, you just take that thought out and you have the tools, you have the team that is out there that you can say, here you go make this happen, whether it's in audio form, video form, written form. I was actually speaking with one of my advisor clients last week, and we were talking about emails, and we were talking about how the amount of time it takes to have to redo a lot of the shelf stuff. And he and I were coming up with ideas of how do we do a brain dump and then take that and then implement it into the content that you have out there. If you're not willing to spend the money to grow this type of stuff, to build a show, to do it the right way, to consult with people that can help guide you, then, good luck. It might work that way, but, it costs money to make money. This is a business. You're going to have to do something to get your name out there, to put it out there. And honestly, if you do it right and you get the right team behind you, you're going to see results. You're going to also have fun while doing it. And you're going to realize right away when your clients are saying, hey, I love that episode you did, or I really connected with this thing that you did, or you made me feel better from that email that you did. You're going to instantly from that moment realize the financial side of it is completely worth it. It is worth putting that investment in because I can see it from my clients.
Well, once again, I absolutely recommend. First of all, everyone knows my number one premise is if you don't know how to do something, outsource it. Mm-hmm. Outsource it. Don't try to do something that you don't know how to do. Experts get paid because they're experts, not because you know how to do it. The other sort of tip I will give as somebody who does podcasts is commit to doing 100. Right. So commit to doing a large number, because one of the other things, and you've probably seen this, Matt, is people have these high expectations that they're going to get instantaneous results by doing it, but they're going to do like 4 podcasts and, business is going to flood in and they won't know what to do with it all. And that's not really how it works. Credibility and brand is built over time, but it's built on consistency. It's built on knowing that every 2 weeks something is coming out from you. And for the people that I've seen who have done it successfully, that's what they did. They committed to at least a certain number of podcasts. And I would say personally, if you're not going to do 100, I don't know why you would bother, because that's about the time it takes to, that's when your credibility is reaching, its max. And do you get business with it? Again, I can only speak for my own, that we've probably done well over $1 billion of business through connections that I've made through doing the podcast, sending the podcast, people directly calling me. Now, I'm in a little bit different business as we bring advisors onto IPC, but that credibility of doing one has certainly worked. So, I can't endorse it enough. So, Matt, at the end, what's next for you? Where do you see you and the company, and what's next?
Well, we're continuing to grow what we're doing one-on-one with advisors and other brands. We're looking to expand into that. We're also looking at actually expanding what I talked about with the 1 hour concept of working with advisors 1 hour a week to do that brain dump. And then we'll help you with a podcast, or we'll help you with email newsletters, and kind of taking that real voice and then implementing it and creating content that they can send out to their clients or potential clients. Also, we're looking on the other side of the business. We build media brands as well. We are going to be expanding out that side of it later in the year as well. We're working on a wedding comedy brand that's going to come out later in the year. Also, I have a little fun podcast of my community, Meet a Stranger. From all of my travels, I do interviews of strangers, man on the street stuff. We're actually expanding that later in this quarter into a new YouTube video series. I got a new camera, going to be going in. I know we were talking about how people are lonely. I am, in my early 40s, and, moved to a brand new city and looking to meet new people and new friends. And, as we get older, our lives change, our friend circles change. How do we meet people, as we get older? So I'm going to explore that with my own story and my own journey, and go find places where people are meeting, whether it's a pickleball court or like a corporate event, or, you walk through a park and you always see that group of like 5, 6, 7 older gentlemen that are retired sitting there with their coffee once a week. I want to know why they do that. So I'm going to sit down and chat with them and learn. So that's going to be coming up throughout the summer as well.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, since you've been at the show at the beginning, you know the next segment, which is my rapid fire questions. And so I'm going to ask you 3 questions. First question is, what is the best book you've ever read?
It's funny. I produced this show and I completely forgot you were going to ask this. Best book I ever read, which also does align with what we're talking about, is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I haven't read that one. Write that down.
It's a good read. You can get it through it within a weekend, even a night. Stephen Pressfield is a fiction author. He's written, I think, like sci-fi stuff and all. But for many years, he fought against resistance of creating content, and for years would just do anything but write. And The War of Art is all about that process, the creative process of how do you sit down, how do you write, how do you be what he calls resistance and listen to the muse and that inner voice that you have, and how do you sit down and be able to do it. And I'll give the spoiler alert here. It's all about being a professional. It's about sitting down, making the time and doing it, incorporating yourself, treating it as a business, and sitting down and just doing the work. And it's a great inspirational book if you're in, even with business too, of you have this idea you want to get out. It kind of teaches you why we have that element of resistance that stops us from doing things. And it's so good that I recommend it to everybody. I have a copy on my Kindle, on my phone, that I always go back and reference and all. It's a good, quick read, but it's very powerful.
I love it. All right. See, I learned something new today. The second question is, what is the best advice you ever received?
Best advice I've ever received from my worst boss I ever had, but it is the best advice. I will give him credit for that. Many years ago, when I first started in radio, it was this was 2001, 2002. Bare Naked Ladies, good Canadian band, one of my
good Canadian band.
They were doing a radio show. This is when like 1 week and it's all been done was out. This is what their heyday, and they were doing a concert for us. And we were in this like 10,000 seat arena. It was me and my boss. They were doing their sound check. We're standing there. The arena's empty besides the band and the tech people, and we had some of our radio station staff hanging up logos and all that. And my old boss knows that I was a diehard BNL fan. And he looks over at me and says, "Matt, enjoy the ride. Just stop for a minute and take this all in. You are standing in the arena listening to and watching the sound check of one of your favorite bands before anybody else, and you're just having this one-on-one moment in this moment. We're always focused on trying to get to the end result, but it's
Right.
always about these little moments that are so cool along the way. So just stop and enjoy the ride. And there have been so many moments in my life where I have genuinely stopped, remembered that thought, and looked around and just kind of like made a mental image and just took it all in that moment, because those are the moments that we remember, not the end game.
That is sage advice. I love it. And last, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone that just went for it, that challenged everything. Like my entire life has been, leaving Ohio, moving to LA, moving to New York, traveling all the time, living on an island in the Caribbean for 6 years, then moving back to the Midwest and traveling and meeting people and having random conversations with people in kitchens in parts of the world that I would never have imagined. In all of those moments, there were lessons that I learned, that I remember, that I bring into all different parts of my life. So if anything, I just want to be remembered as someone that just went for it and did it differently. And hopefully that can be inspirational to people as well. Even if you don't jump on a plane and go to the other side of the world, maybe it's jump in your car and go to the other side of town that you haven't been to in 10 years and go and sit in a coffee shop there. Just do something a little different. That can make all the difference.
I love it. And I truly think that's how you will be remembered. So this is great. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. I think this has been a great show because it has really answered the question that I wanted, that I know that I get so often is what does podcasting actually get me? But more importantly, how does it help build my brand? How do I build a brand of authenticity that builds credibility within a narrow niche market that I know that I am uniquely positioned to serve that market and solve their problems better than anyone else? Of course, it is a time commitment and it's a financial commitment, but this is as they say in the mafia, this is the business that we have chosen. And if you've chosen this business, the one way that you should be thinking about, or the one thing you should be thinking about all the time, is how am I different? How do I stand out? And how do I use every medium at my disposal to communicate and build a community within my target market? And you, like everything, you could do it yourself, but I would highly recommend it against it. There are professionals like Matt and the company that he runs that you literally can just hand everything to. You come up with the ideas, do the brain dump, and they will do everything and make you look good. And that's a far better use of your time and somebody else's expertise than trying to do it yourself. So those are all the things that I've learned out of this episode. Matt, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, that would be it. I think, if you're in a position where you're thinking about what to do, I think the biggest key right now is the next step you can do is just be real, be honest, share what you're thinking, share, stay within the rules, stay within, what regulations say. Don't be stupid, but be real and be honest and say what you're thinking and feeling about what's going on in the world and business and how it affects your clients. Because honestly, your clients are craving that. They're craving for these voices that are making them feel connected. They're making them feel comforted, that they know that there's someone they can pick up the phone and talk to. And the only way they're going to really feel that way is if you are being real and honest with them.
Yeah, they know who you are. So, Matt, I'm sure that there's people out there that say, okay, well, I want to have a conversation. How would they have a conversation with you on what this might mean for their business? What's the best way to do that?
Best way, you can go to our website to learn more, hazecreative.co. Also, best way to reach me is on the socials as well. You can slide into my, as I say in the podcast, all those evil social media channels, at Matt Haze, at MattHaze. You can say hi over there and we can schedule a call and chat.
It's awesome. Matt Haze, the founder of Haze Creative. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
Thank you, Chris. And it has genuinely been a pleasure to be partnered with you in IPC. Crazy to think that we're now going into our 4th year working together. So thank you so much for your trust in us. And it's been a pleasure working with you in IPC. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been an amazing 4 years. Thank you so much, Matt. Thanks for joining me on Turning the Page. What did you learn from today's episode? If you follow me on LinkedIn, please drop me a comment there. I'd love to chat with you about it over a virtual coffee. Send me a message on LinkedIn, or you can do so at our website. The link's in the show notes. I'm Chris Reynolds, and until next time.